Daily Solutions. He's just walking down the street. Daily Solutions. He's just gonna get something to eat. If you would like to hang out, then you can buy him a sandwich or something. That's right, it's the Daily Solutions Podcast. Okay, hey there, everyone.
Hello.
This is my Mashkan.
And I'm Graham.
And we got a question.
And it is, I have an SEO consultant wanting to charge me hundreds of dollars a month to keep me ranked well. How important is SEO in a float tank center when there aren't a bunch of other centers in your town?
When there aren't a bunch of other centers in your town.
When there are not a bunch of other centers in your town.
Okay, so first, just tip number one is that there are a lot of scams out there. There are a lot of scams out there specifically around these companies sending you emails telling you things like, we'll get you ranked number one on Google, or we'll get you ranked number one on this, or like they're guaranteeing you that you'll be ranked number one on Google. Those are pretty much almost always scams. If people are saying very concrete language like that, that's just not how SEO works. SEO is search engine optimization. I guess
that's what I was going to go into too. Yeah.
So this is SEO is about kind of when people type in something into a search engine, and almost always people are talking about Google. When people are typing things into Google, like how quickly does your thing pop up? Like where are you? What number are you on the list?
And this is a like organic kind of placement as opposed to getting ads or something like that. So these are kind of like two sides of search engine marketing in general. Is ads plus SEO kind of equals overall search engine marketing. So right now we're just talking about that, getting ranked naturally without paying for ads. And often what those companies do too, if they guarantee you a number one spot, is they're just guaranteeing that they're going to bid the highest on an ad spot or something like that, and they're not actually talking about that organic placement. That's the part where it gets, it's more or less scammy depending on who you're talking to.
I even saw a scam once that was a company selling search engine optimization. So they were like the more you spend, the higher they'll guarantee that you be. And what was going on was they were creating their own search platform that they were like selling spots to.
Wow.
So you'd have a really high ranking on a search engine that absolutely nobody uses is what their company was doing.
We're in the wrong business. Should sell floats to a float center that doesn't exist or something.
So be careful. When people are out there telling you stuff like that, be careful. And part of the reason that why concrete claims like that are very suspicious is that there is not like a number one spot in a Google search. Like Google does things based off of your past search history, your location. They take information like that
what
into
you ate
account.
for breakfast that day. They know it all. So
yeah, exactly. When you got a haircut, like they're keeping track of everything. And when you search something, they use the context of everything they know about you to provide you with links they think are going to be the best for you. So it's not like there is. If you were to type in float tank across, a bunch of different people, like you'd see different results based off of who was doing the search.
Even here in Portland, like depending on whether you're closer to the Float Shop or Enso or us, has a lot to do with who pops up first in the rankings for float tank.
Yeah. So search engine optimization it's a lot more of a like the results are a lot softer than people saying like we'll make you the number one ranked thing. It's kind of just like you're doing a lot and no one exactly knows how Google's algorithm works. We have some good ideas. Google puts out some information. Yeah. There's some like giant robot brain somewhere that actually understands. But there's Google keeps parts of its algorithm secret, so that people can't like game the system too much, and they put out some information about it, but they also change it all the time, and they change what's prioritized. And there's also like a bunch of ways that people still try to game Google's system and do things that what Google considers like shady practices of trying to boost your SEO. And Google cracks down on those over time. Like as time goes on, Google figures out, what those are, and they punish you if you try to manipulate their systems like that.
Yeah, so it's also a good lesson if you do end up going with a company that's promising to put you at the top of even organic search. chances are they're taking advantage of some inefficiencies in the system, and sometimes those can even come back to haunt you. Like if Google finds out that you've been doing something to kind of artificially pop up your website to the top of ranks when you shouldn't be there, they might just artificially lower it on their side to penalize you for that. And there's kind of this idea of being pushed into Google purgatory for some companies who are being punished when they shouldn't be. But all of a sudden, it's just they're not showing up in any searches. And if that's important for their business, it takes a huge dive. So it's one of those reasons, like in addition to, I don't know, just kind of wanting to be above board and be a good business, to not engage in those more shady, gray hat or black hat practices is often what they're called.
Yeah, versus white hat, which is kind of the good approved way of doing things.
Yeah.
And there's, the thing with SEO, there is definitely like a technical side to it. There's ways of linking things that affect SEO. There's ways of putting keywords into parts of your website that you don't think they're supposed to be in, stuff like that. So there's some technical know-how, but kind of the biggest stuff that comes with SEO is stuff that you should be able to understand. It's having good, robust content on your website. It's having lots of people like reference your website and point back to it. Like if you're hiring someone who's doing SEO and they're not able to explain to you some of the things they're doing and what some of the bigger...
And they sound reasonable, like, oh, you should have a blog post that goes out once a month, or you should try to get some other wellness places in town to link over to your site. Or,
yeah, exactly.
It's really kind of basic, like intuitive behaviors are... Yeah, what you're looking for.
Yeah, so if they're not telling you any stuff like that and they're just telling you they're doing all sorts of weird stuff behind the scenes, like something probably weird is going on there.
If it sounds like tech black magic or something, they're just trying to obfuscate what they're doing behind this like screen of technical language, then yeah, don't buy into it.
So none of this has really answered your question so far. Let's assume they are. They're a great SEO company. They're charging you money and they're doing everything well and legitimately, and you're paying for a good service.
Yeah, so the question really is how, like, if there's even, let's say, 5 float centers in a town and people are searching for sensory deprivation or float tank or float center, probably all 5 of those are going to pop up on a search.
Yeah,
and
like
probably,
in a row,
likely, all above the fold, which means on the screen where you first are without having to scroll down to see other content, So how important, for restaurants, spending money on SEO and being ranked at the top of restaurant searches in a city, given how many restaurants can compete. Like, you're competing for a huge portion of people who want to have dinner. And when they're searching online, like, that's a huge benefit if you can pop up at the top of those results. But for a float center, when you're not competing with hundreds of other people, I wonder how much it's really worthwhile to invest in it,
Like, the people who are doing SEO the hardest are companies that sell to the entire global market and exist on the internet. Like then you're competing with so many people that you really are trying to get yourself even like visible, because you could end up like 10 pages deep on Google searches. So, and you don't want to be like, if you're like not showing up at all, then something's pretty wrong. But it'd be really hard. Like if you're doing just some basic stuff, like you have your business listed on Google Places and you have a website that like includes the words like you're the name of your city and the words float tank, things like that. It'd be pretty hard to even like screw up to the point that you wouldn't be listed on that first page, or and like probably like decently close to the top. It's probably just going to be a list of float centers. And there are better ways to tell with your own browser than just typing something into Google. Like using an incognito window helps a little bit, but Google also has like guest windows, which don't take your like previous data into account as much. They're still going to know your location and stuff like that. But that's going to give you a slightly more unbiased Google search than just Googling through the browser window that you normally use.
Here's what you do. You should reach out to a family member or like a college friend who lives in a different city and have them Google float tanks and the name of your city. And preferably, like, you've had less contact with them, more like, so call up someone you haven't talked to in 4 years and be like, look, I have a favor. I just need you to hop on Google and do a search for this. You can also just go on DuckDuckGo, which is an alternate search engine that doesn't kind of take those things into account. So it won't mimic Google exactly, nor could you, because it's a different search for everyone. But it gives you a little more of an idea of unbiased search results from DuckDuckGo, using that as a just kind of testing search engine.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, is it worth a few $100s a month?
I might pay a few $100s when I was first opening.
Yeah.
Or maybe make sure, like, for review, to make sure my site is kind of hitting all of the basic essentials, and maybe I have like a game plan going forward to just make sure that I'm staying on top of the SEO duties I need, but I wouldn't pay something ongoing.
No, and the SEO stuff does change. So like maybe once every year, once every 2 years, or if you're making like a big change to your website or something like that. Like those are times when it's good to bring in an SEO person. Sometimes when you're making big changes to your website, Google doesn't like stuff like that, and you kind of have to like do like the right steps to make sure you don't get artificially punished for it. So there's moments like that where like totally pay someone with SEO to come help. But
and after you've been open for a year, you can just trade floats for it,
Yeah, which is what we do. But but yeah, like especially in the context of this question, there's not even that many other float centers around. Like that does not sound to me like a great use of money.
And the fact that someone's trying to actually pitch you on paying a few $100s a month also makes me think it sounds a little scammy. Like I just almost feel like really good SEO people wouldn't even pitch that out of the gate to a small brick and mortar local business,
Here's the best thing about finding good SEO people is you can just do a Google search and whoever shows up on top, like that's that's the person you should hire.
Yeah, like hiring a salesman or something. Like if you feel like you should hire him, you probably should because he's very convincing. All right.
So good. Yeah, there you go.
Done.
All right. If you have other questions, you can go to floattanksolutions.com/podcast.
And we will talk more at you tomorrow.
That's right. Bye.
See you later, everyone.